Welcome to episode 7 of River Talk. Today is the day after Election Day, November 9th, 2016. After an historic election, Donald Trump has been elected President of the United States. And it's such a surprising victory if you really look at it. Everyone came in tonight saying, oh, Hillary's going to win by a decent margin. You know, there's going to be no competition there. But it's just amazing. He flipped states that got Obama into office, and you know, it rung true. Whoever wins Ohio wins the election, and it's just astounding.
You know, the biggest upset I think of our lifetime. You know, since the primaries, there's kind of been this narrative that like Hillary's going to win by a landslide, and it just completely flipped. I mean. You know, we saw what he took Florida, he took Wisconsin, he took Iowa, he took Pennsylvania. I mean, Pennsylvania.
The jury's still out on Michigan too. He might win Michigan too. If he flips that, I mean,
it's nuts. You know, Pennsylvania hasn't voted red since Reagan. I mean, just a perspective and a little bit.
And I just think it's amazing that he's proven the media wrong on almost every single one of their judgments about his campaign. They said he didn't have, a silent majority of people that would come out and vote for him. He did. He proved that. They said he wasn't going to flip any blue states. He flipped multiple. They said he wasn't going to win. He did.
You know, it's just amazing because Democrats were constantly saying, our Rust Belt strategy is just not going to work. They've been voting reliably Democratic for decades now, and now just Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
a major one.
We really saw the silent majority, as it were, really show up, evidently.
I thought I heard somewhere that even Trump might have gotten the majority of union-affiliated voters, which would be incredible if that turns out to be true.
Right. So what's been the kind of what have been some of the bigger reactions that you guys have seen? Because I've seen a lot of, from the same people that have always said, a lot of people are saying this whole country is bigoted, sexist, racist, every other insult in the book. But you look at the preliminary kind of results, we see in a lot of these states that Trump, took a lot of the African American vote, a lot of the Hispanic vote, and the union vote, as you said. So I have a hard time believing that this whole country is racist. It's counties that voted in Obama, as you said, are the same counties they got shafted by Obama. They felt like they got shafted. So.
And here's a common theme that was present throughout the night. As you go county by county in a lot of states, you notice that Hillary Clinton has underperformed Obama by certain margins, and Donald Trump doing exceedingly better than Mitt Romney, overperforming Romney compared to 2012. It just goes to show that it's just this populist message, really, and the whole idea of change really got people to go out and vote. And once again, people said, a year and a half ago, we just laughed this off.
There was a lot, and myself included, this guy isn't for real.
Yeah, even I didn't support Trump.
There's no way. There's no way.
But I remember the day that I woke up one morning at one of my friend's house, and I was watching on TV. We watched the news for a little bit, and it showed Donald Trump announcing to run for president. We're like, this guy cannot be serious.
Right.
There is no way. Beats out 16 establishment candidates, beats out the Democratic establishment, and it's just astounding to see how far he's gone. He's proved every single person wrong.
He had the entire deck stacked against him. I mean, you look at you can certainly make the case that the media was largely stacked against him. All the polls, Nate Silver, all the
portion of Wall Street.
Yeah, I mean, and his own party too. Like you said, like so I'm thinking that a lot of people on the right now are kind of on thin ice. People that kind of dropped their support. I mean, we saw in last week that Ted Cruz got on the Trump train, but then he didn't go out and vote for Trump. So it's just interesting to see what's in store for
during the night. I was watching CNN, and they were doing exit polling of a lot of states, and they kind of averaged them, and they compared that most of the electorate was angry and dissatisfied with the federal government. Like, those were the largest electorates that voted during this election, and Trump won them by an absurdly lopsided margin, 80% in both categories, basically. It just, once again, goes to show people are hungry for change in this country, and it's astounding to see how overconfidence is something that the Hillary campaign, I guess, has had a common theme. Like,
Right.
for instance, Wisconsin. After the convention, she didn't step one foot in that state. And that's part of the reason why she lost it.
And speaking of Wisconsin, I was really quite surprised that Russ Feingold did not get his Senate seat back from like 16 years ago, because he was practically anointed to take Ron Johnson's Senate seat, and the fact that Ron Johnson came out and beat him, I thought that was one of the biggest surprises for me of the evening, besides Trump's victory.
And if anyone's in Iowa wondering, Chuck Grassley, believe it or not, kept his seat in the Senate.
That was a nail.
I think
that was a nail.
too close to call.
Yeah.
CNN, too close to call.
Yeah. You know, I thought it was interesting that CNN, and I'm sure all the other outlets for this had some trouble too. Like Colin and I were watching Fox, and you know they yes, big surprise. You know, they had said Trump takes Wisconsin, and then like an hour and a half later, CNN says Trump gets Wisconsin. So were they trying that hard to try to, or do you think that they just legitimately didn't think it was?
Well, a lot of their reasoning was behind areas of Wisconsin which are like Democratic strongholds. There would be certain percentages that are still out on their map anyway,
Right.
and they like try to keep in contact
And that-
with officials from the campaign saying, oh well, there's more votes coming in. We expect a large dome, stuff like that. That's what their sources are telling them. So they waited to see if that rang true, and then after it finally happened, it's just like Hillary Clinton they pointed out Hillary Clinton was not able to make up the votes that she
and that was
didn't
a
have.
similar case in Pennsylvania and
Pennsylvania.
Michigan.
Now, that is a story.
You know,
That
they
is-
said,
that's
you know, we
huge.
didn't have all the votes from Philly, we didn't have all the votes from Detroit. You know, these largely blue-leaning areas that.
And it's just amazing too how in Philadelphia they had that big rally with Obama and his wife and everything to get out the vote, and they probably done as good as they possibly could in Philadelphia, got as many people out as they could, but it just wasn't enough to stop rural voters, small town voters, and they were capable of overwhelming the big city vote, which
Right.
was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and
A lot of news networks also are saying, this election is about a divide between rural and urbanized people,
Mhm.
small town, big town, different income levels,
right.
It's really an election
Very
about that.
divisive kind of campaign.
It shows that the country is itself still divided on a lot of issues, and a lot of people saying Obama didn't actually, improve relations between
Right.
all the different socioeconomic
Well, that's-
status.
Yeah, like, we saw some of the counties that got Obama elected, to throw the racist thing out the window, if you will.
Mhm.
They're the same counties that voted very strongly for Trump, so.
Yeah.
And here's one thing I do have to say is, I don't like your candidate, but
Right.
I'm not going to judge his presidency just by the fact that he won. That everything is just going to be going
Yeah.
downhill.
I
I
just-
think
yeah.
people are too upset about this. Like every election, like this, the same thing happened when Barack Obama got elected. Right?
Yeah.
The world's going to end.
Yeah,
And-
we're all here. We all woke up this morning breathing.
And I think before
We're all-
we all jump to the assumption that Trump is just an awful president before he even takes office is just
At least give him a
premature.
chance.
Right.
I'm at least trying to look at this optimistically. I'm going to give him the benefit of a doubt that he has the ability to show us that he can be a good president.
Mhm.
But we'll just have to see when his 4 years
I
are up.
mean, definitely a big part of that is, he's definitely got a strong team, and he's
Mhm.
probably going to put together a really powerful kind of cabinet.
And what about like certain people that got him to this point, like Ben Carson, Chris Christie? Like what positions do you think they'll fill in this administration?
I think it'd be smart to put Ben Carson in the Department of Health and Human Services, considering he has pretty extensive medical background. I think that'd just be right up his alley.
And like, with all of his campaign team, we're definitely going to see like you saw a shift from the primaries and the presidential debate Trumps.
Mhm.
Let's put that Trump won. But then the last like 2 or 3 weeks, he's flying all over the place. He's doing all these different rallies. Most of his speeches were very substance,
Mhm.
very much so policy. And so I think that they figured out that is what works. That's what's really gonna pull this thing ahead. So I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised that like President Trump and candidate Trump might be two totally different people.
There's one thing to say about him, he's a very competitive guy. He is definitely not used
Right.
to losing.
Even if you hate him, even if you hate his guts, which I could understand why you would hate his guts, you gotta give him credit for, I see you smiling actually. You gotta give him credit for just absolutely being tenacious. So, Hillary, where do you guys think she absolutely, where do you think she went wrong in her, because I mean this thing, the polls, whether or not you think they lied to them, whether or not they think you lied, they said, Hillary was gonna take it. 538 said she was gonna take it. She didn't take it. Not,
I think it was a big message of how she's going to improve economic circumstances in the United States. When Trump went across the Rust Belt, the big states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, he was talking about an economic message and a trade message that he wants those trade deals to favor those people as well, not just, the countries that are part of the deal. And so I think it has more to do with the message he was trying to craft towards those people. She didn't like for instance in Wisconsin, she didn't even go there. Michigan, she spent time there, right? Pennsylvania, she spent a lot of time there, but the message she was saying during her time there wasn't the kind of message they were wanting to hear. All right, welcome back to River Talk. We took a short break there, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about the election and what has happened. Donald Trump is the president now. So then even though he's a Republican, another thing that's important is, to have a Republican House and Senate. So how did those races look as the night went on?
Definitely still seeing a large majority of right wing for both houses of Congress, and as well as a couple new Republican governors in Vermont and New Hampshire. So it'll be interesting to see what gets done in the next 2 years before midterm.
Yeah.
Really interesting to see what a primarily right, legislative and executive branch does.
And it's really I think a lot of Trump's legacy will be decided in the first 2 years based on how voters respond to him and Congress's decisions. If he can pull it off, if he can come to solutions that appeals to his base and maybe some people who weren't initially big fans of him, I think he'll cement himself as a pretty decent president. If the gridlock in Washington just proves to be too much, I think he might be a one-termer.
I think I hate to say it, but I think there's a lot of things that could contribute to him being a one-termer.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, him and Hillary both have record-breaking disapproval ratings, so that's never good. But then, I think a lot, like we were kind of talking about earlier, like President Trump and candidate Trump might be two totally different people. What happens? What happens in a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years? He's the next Reagan. He's the next FDR. He's the next Eisenhower. That's unlikely, but
big what if.
What happens?
Possible.
What happens when people?
That's just the thing. I mean, he's not a politician. We have no idea what policy is like. We have no idea how he's going to enact things. It's just he's. Like it's been said since the beginning, he's a wild card. We don't know.
He's such a kind of quagmire in this kind of
Just has
situation.
nothing to compare to.
And that's a large contributor as to why he got as many votes as he got. People were sick and tired of the establishment on both sides. They felt shafted with Obama, so they didn't want a third term Obama. They're saying, listen, right wing establishment, we don't care. We want this nationalist, populist kind of guy because this country isn't great. It wants saw that with a lot of union votes, a lot of minority votes.
He even broke Mitt Romney's record, surprisingly, with Hispanic voters, which really astonished me considering his rhetoric on immigration.
What percentage was it?
I think he got 30% of Hispanic. I want to say Mitt Romney got 26.
Yeah, I thought he got 18. I might be wrong there.
I don't know, but okay.
Could be wrong. Could be
So
wrong.
right-wing Congress, what does that look like next couple of years? What do you think?
Really, you have to look at the core issues that are kind of important right now: foreign policy, trade deals, the economy.
Things that are kind of right up Trump's alley.
Repealing Obamacare. Probably abortion rights might be talked about. I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure. Depending on the semantics, I think of the
Yeah.
issue, I think that'll decide if it'll be a winning issue for the GOP or not. It'll entirely depend on semantics, in my humble opinion.
Religious freedom. I mean, you have 2 years of a completely Republican federal government, and you know gun control is going to be talked about,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how to lessen it.
Well, another thing that I don't think people are talking about yet is the Supreme Court. You know, this was kind of talked about in one of the debates, but you know, the Supreme Court, Trump's in. You have to think that he's going to pick pretty right-wing people. So, I mean, it's just going to be a crazy couple of years to think of what, you know, we haven't seen.
I think there are two things you have to look at. I think it was the first time since the 30s or something that someone with no political background actually got like the presidency or like a high important office or something like that. And then you also have to look at, I can't remember. I'll come back to it once I remember.
Right. So let's talk a little bit hypothetical. Let's say it wasn't Trump versus Hillary. Let's say it was Bernie Sanders and, I don't know, Ted Cruz. Do you think this election would have been nearly as exciting?
No.
See,
No.
And I think we'd have President Sanders right now.
Yeah.
Probably would agree with you as much as I
as much as
I disagree
as
with
much
it.
as I disagree.
Seems like a nice guy, but I don't think he's
Right.
politics.
And I think that's important to realize that he, you know, I'm willing to put money on. He got so much support in the primary because he's such a likable person. You know, same thing we saw with kind of Obama versus Romney. You know, we saw Obama. Yeah, he's a nice. He seems like a good dinner date and whatever.
No, he's not.
Romney was kind of
seems-
pretentious.
Right, Romney. So you know, it's interesting that we now have kind of totally flip-flopped and say we want the loud, rambunctious,
Jerk.
angry jerk. Yeah, I think it's interesting. But I agree that like if Sanders would have gotten it, I don't think this would be nearly the actual landslide from the left would have happened.
Yeah.
Not this
You know, I
bullshit
just-
thing.
It's been said multiple times probably that if he did, if he was nominated, that it would just be probably the biggest landslide in modern history, probably in American politics. So it's just an interesting way to look at the what ifs. If like you know the rebellions in both party actually took hold and went on to the general election,
Mhm.
this would have been interesting to see.
A big thing with Trump had with people didn't like, you know, the establishment, and Bernie really wasn't as much as, you know, the stereotypical politician, so that helped him. And if he had, you know, made it above Clinton and had gotten the nomination, it really would have been interesting to see, because you have two people who aren't really what we think of as traditional politicians as much.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think back to Ted Cruz, or no, it was Jeb Bush. They were talking to her during a debate, and it was like, he said, you can insult your way to the White House, right?
Well, look at that.
And on the flip side, I just look at Hillary's perspective. You can't cheat and expect to get your way to the White House.
Yeah.
One thing
Oh, no, you go.
this is kind of different. You mentioned Hillary. This just reminded me. I watched her comments this morning, and I watched Obama's comments, and I never thought I'd say this, but I was pretty proud of both of them. I think they realize the extreme divide in this country between left and right, Democrat, Republican right now, and given also with Donald Trump's comments last night, they seemed kind of they seemed like they genuinely wanted the country to get past our differences and work better as we move on.
The speeches themselves definitely show that they're nothing more than a peaceful transition of power.
Right,
So
yeah.
That is like top of the
So
agenda right
if
now.
nothing else, that is a silver lining that hopefully we can start to move past this awful, like, just horrible
Name calling,
identity politics garbage. You know, hopefully we can actually start to move on. I mean, the flames have a long way to go before they're set. You know, before the dust is settled. I mean, there are riots going on already in like California and parts of
I
Washington.
feel like we expected that regardless of who won.
Right.
Yeah,
It was
either
gonna
way.
have
whether-
a-
Right.
Either left-wing riots or right-wing militias.
Right, yeah. So I think the dust is far from settled, but I do think that both candidates kind of, you know, bucked up and said, well, you know, I can't cheat my way or insult my way, so I can appreciate the system, even though,
Yeah.
you know, whatever.
All right, folks, we got 2 years of Republican leadership ahead of us. Let's see how it turns out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.